Now, the rhetoric is easy, but when you contemplate some reports, and you can see the pictures there, that Russian casualties may be at least 180,000 dead, and the Ukraine toll between 80,000 and 100,000, then something is seriously wrong with the world. In Ukraine, although there is no conscription, men of military age, 18 to 50, have not been allowed to leave Ukraine since the start of the war. And last month, Mr. Zelensky increased the penalty for desertion to 12 years in prison. Richard Barrons, the former chief of the UK Joint Forces Command, has said that Ukraine needs to keep 200,000 soldiers in the field to defend the 2,600-kilometre border across which the war is being fought. 2,600 kilometres. And Barrons said, quote, "Given that the rate of casualties on a really bad day is 200 to 300 killed, you begin to see how many would be needed to replenish this," unquote. It is true that Kremlin officials were reportedly so confident of victory when Russia invaded Ukraine a year ago that the generals were told to pack their medals and their dress uniforms for the victory parades in Kiev only weeks away. Well, that hasn't happened. And now it's being asked how the next stage of the war is unfolding. Now, today, Zelensky said, quote, "The US will have to send their sons and daughters exactly the same way as we are sending our sons and daughters to war, because it is NATO that we're talking about, and they will be dying," unquote. This is heavy-duty stuff, which brings us to China and its 12-point plan for a ceasefire. Don't be deceived. China's been propping up the Russian economy since this began. Trade between China and Russia hit a new record high in 2022, up 30% to 190 billion. The West wasn't having Russia's crude oil, don't worry. China bought $50.6 billion worth of crude oil from Russia from March to December, up 45% from the same period the previous year. Coal imports from Russia surged $54 billion. Natural gas purchases up 155%. Russia needs new customers because its fossil fuels were shunned by the West. China wants cheap energy to power its manufacturing industry. Russia has spent billions buying machinery, electronics, base metals, vehicles, ships and aircraft from China. America knows this. So, while China hasn't offered direct support to Russia's war, it has provided significant strategic support. And Russia needs to find substitutes for its imports from Western markets, such as cars and electronics. Chinese car brands have seen their market share in Russia surge from 10% to 38% following the exit of Western brands. So it goes on. China's 12-point peace document is merely an effort to present itself as a neutral peace broker. But China's neutrality has been severely undermined by its refusal to acknowledge the nature of the conflict. It has avoided calling it an invasion, and it's provided diplomatic and economic support from Moscow. And despite claiming its 12-point peace plan that, quote, "sovereignty, independence and territorial integrity of all countries must be effectively upheld," unquote, the document fails to acknowledge Russia's violation of Ukrainian sovereignty. But what does it mean at the end of the day that America has gone in so overwhelmingly in support of Ukraine and its war with Russia? Well, back to Trump. When he was president, the bureaucrats were telling him to keep his distance from Putin. Trump would dismiss them by saying, "Why would we fight Russia? Wouldn't making Russia our enemy drive Putin into the arms of China and create the most powerful and dangerous anti-American bloc in history?" Trump posed the question repeatedly. If Russia ever joined forces with China, America's power would end instantly. You would have Russia, the world's largest land mass, with the world's largest natural gas reserves, allied with China, the world's largest population and the world's largest economy. Is this where we're heading? I think it's dangerous territory. Such a union would have the scale to control a lot of the world's economy, trade routes and raw materials. As Trump argued correctly, if Russia and China ever get together, it will be a brand new world. Perhaps even people with great minds like Boris Johnson understand that, and that may be why the argument is being mounted that perhaps at all costs, Putin must be defeated.